A man or a woman is defeated by life as soon as he sells his soul to pleasure. One who says, happy wife, happy life, is really selling his soul to a life of constant strife. Because your happiness cannot be dependent on anybody. Because your happiness doesn't happen because of anybody. It just is as it is. The Sadguru is not here to give you happiness. He's here to remind you of your eternal happiness that is always within. The problem is, we are seeking that eternal happiness and eternal bliss in temporary circumstances. And this makes us a slave. It's like a man who thinks that he'll get rich doing crime. He could have done it the right way and the patient way, but he'd rather rush and get what he wants immediately, and it comes back to bite him in the end. Crime doesn't pay, and neither does lust. And lust is the originator of most crimes. There was a wise man once said, if it weren't for women, man would still be living in huts. And I say this, not to say that it's women's fault for crime, but in a sense that a lot of the things that people do and act are because of lust. They want a house and they want money to be able to have a wife so they can reproduce. So all of our actions, most of our actions, are due to lust. It's only when we go beyond our animalistic desire that we truly live. Or else we're just a dog chasing its own tail, never really going anywhere. Selling your soul to pleasure is a betrayal of your true spirit, because often we lose ourselves in the face of pleasure. Pleasure becomes this chain on our back, dragging us down, distracting us, blinding us from seeing what is. Lust is the opposite of contentment. Contentment will never betray you, but your lust will. Because it'll fool you into thinking that bits and pieces of the puzzle are the true puzzle, and you'll never be able to solve anything. Lust creates confusion. When you see somebody crazy in the street, you say, okay, this person is crazy, and you move on. But let's say your significant other is acting in a way that's not very logical. You start trying to figure them out because you want to control reality. You want to control the reality of that person so they can fit into your world, so they make sense to you. But if you didn't create this egoic character in your own play that you think exists, this person wouldn't even be important. But throughout our lives, we create all these roles. We think of ourselves as the prince, crown king. And as we grow up, everything in life will meet our expectations, will fulfill our lustful desires in life. But we find out immediately that the goddess is not here to satisfy our desires. She is her own independent being. It's like a man who expects intercourse from his wife all the time and comes to realize that, sometimes she gets tired. And he has to be okay with that frustration. Because not everything is for his ego. Really, nothing is for your ego. Everything is God experiencing himself or herself. But God cannot experience himself without the glorious Shakti. So lust is not something to be hated, and the cause of lust is not something to be hated, it's something to be appreciated. making lust your enemy is the biggest mistake you can make. Because what it does is it makes you a hypocrite. It makes you suppress. There was a story of a priest or a Brahmin who used to speak against this guru who would have many women around him when he was teaching. And this Brahmin would pride himself on being a celibate and never being around women. Yet he was always focusing and going to this, when the guru was teaching, he would always be there and thinking in his mind, look at all these women here. But you know what the guru was focused on? Spreading the Dharma, teaching the Dharma. And what was that Brahmin who was so prideful, that priest who was so prideful about being celibate focused on? Woman. So we must not have an aversion to lust. We must use lust to our advantage by using that sexual energy for our purpose, for higher things. And the highest thing we can use it for is spiritual excellence. Because one who controls his lust cannot be controlled by anger, by passion, by impatience. Because lust is the source of impatience. You freak out in traffic on the way to your job so you don't lose your money, so women still love you. Because if you don't have a job, now you're just a bum to them. But of course, anybody who truly loves you will not care about some worldly position you happen to have. And one should never be ashamed of not having a job due to his lust. Because often we look at ourselves through the view of the opposite gender because our lust is so important to us. And a woman, she might get cranky because she's late to her job because she wants to be independent of the man, which there's nothing wrong with wanting to be independent. But to be so focused and so caught up on being independent that you start to get angry or you start to feel like you're losing control if you're not materially independent, you're selling yourself to lust. Because even a woman can lust after independence. A woman may not be as lustful sexually as a man, but she can be lustful for other things. So all of us, until we find self-realization, the knowledge of self-realization, transcendental wisdom, are caught up in this lustful back and forth with no way out, until the guru pulls your hand out of this drowning ocean, where in a weird way you kind of enjoy swimming, but you realize that you're in a way drowning, so you can't stay here. This is what the aspirant feels. So the guru pulls him out of water and shows him the vast land that's available. And the guru tells him, sometimes you can dip back into the pool, but you can't stay there all the time because you'll end up drowning. So the devotee of the Sadguru might dip into lust, but he does not let lust control him. Because if he lets lust control him, then he will allow life to control him. Then he will be like a donkey fool saying, happy wife, happy life. And then he won't be such a fool to push that mentality onto his son and make his son a slave and dependent. But the guru detests dependence. The guru takes all dependence away from his devotee. The guru destroys his devotee's material attachment. So the devotee is completely free. Life after life, we've been ridiculed, cursed, divorced. We've had loved ones die early. We found the love of our lives and they've cheated. We've gone lives with many lovers and then the next life with no lovers at all. So there comes a time when we have to be tired of this endless game. These different roles. Will you transcend lust and refuse to be a slave? Or will you continue seeking an ocean in a desert?